Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me for this month's Choose Your Own Adventure Crystal reading. I'm Erin Lee, and you can find the rest of my readings on my website, VancouverIslandPsychic.com. So if you haven't experienced the Choose Your Own Adventure Crystal reading before, you are in for a lot of fun. So basically the way that it works is I'm going to ask you to think about a question or more than one question. There is no limit to the number of questions you can ask. And while you're thinking about your question, choosing one of the crystals to represent the answer and the guidance that you are looking for. So there is no limit to the number of times, or pardon me, the number of questions you can ask or the number of times you can come back throughout the course of the month. The reading is good for the entire month of August 2014. We're going to be using Doreen Virtue's magical messages from the Fairies Oracle card deck for this reading. And your crystal choices for the month are amethyst, malachite, azurite, lava, rose quartz, citrine, aquamarine, carnelian, and jet. So take a breath, ground yourself, think about your question, and whichever crystal kind of jumps out at you or feels good is the crystal that you should choose. I should also mention too that there is nothing saying that you can't choose more than one crystal, so if you're torn between two, choose them both. So again, the crystal choices for this month are amethyst, malachite, azurite, lava, rose quartz, citrine, aquamarine, carnelian, and jet. So we'll move these guys off to the side. Oh my, I'm having a real time here. And geez Louise, and we'll give the cards a shuffle. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect with our angels and the fairies and all of our guides and God and Source and the universe. And we're going to ask what messages are coming up for us for each of these different crystals to help with guidance, so that we can kind of keep things healthy, balanced, stable, and strong, and moving forward in a positive way as we move along our life path. So if you have chosen amethyst, the card that's coming up for you is winter. The answers to your prayers and affirmations are fully realized in the winter months. So the message that's really coming up here is that the timing isn't quite right. Well, now hold on a second. As I say that, I realize that it is August, and in Canada, North America, and the Western world, things are in summer, but you could be watching this in Australia, in which case now is the time. So for anybody who's watching where it's summer, the message that's coming up for you is that it's not time to be pushing forward with things right now. There are things that need to still come into place in order for this opportunity or this situation to be righting itself. So put your focus, your time, your concentration into other areas of your life and allow the time and space for things to come together in this particular situation in another way. With amethyst, I find it really interesting that the color of the card has also matched the color of the crystal that you've chosen here as well. And so with amethyst, there are things that you aren't seeing right now within the situation. Give things a bit of time and space before you start moving ahead. If it is winter where you are, where you're enjoying this reading, then the message that's coming up is that things are starting to come together for you. So really pay attention, keep your eyes open, and be aware of what's happening. And the other message that's coming through is really make sure that you're connecting with Source, with your angels, with your guides, whatever your belief system may be, for clarity around what's happening in this situation at the time being. For the time being, rather. If you've chosen malachite, the message that's coming up for you is new career. Your work focus is shifting in a positive, new, and successful direction. So if you've asked a question around career or self-employment, then the message that's coming up for you is, yes, this is the time to be making a change. It could be that you aren't changing specifically out of the career that you're in, but that there are things that are going to be shifting and changing for you so that it does feel like it's a new career. I'll get to other questions that aren't career related in a moment. The other thing that's coming up, and I find it really interesting that the color of this card also matches malachite too. That kind of like that works on my matchy level. Malachite is really talking about emotional transformation and things that are changing in a fairly major and possibly kind of drastic way. So expect that you'll be experiencing a lot of change within the situation. Now, if the question that you have asked isn't career related, then the message that's coming up for you is that there is a new opportunity, there's something new that's coming into the situation that is going to provide clarity, and there is going to be a shift and a change in direction. Again, I'm going into malachite as the crystal that you've chosen and have been drawn to, and that there's emotional healing that's happening in order for this transformation to happen and to occur. So it doesn't feel like there's a lot that you're necessarily doing at this point, but being open to new opportunities and really not being stuck in it's going to need to happen in this particular way, because it feels like there's something that's shifting that is going to work out better for everybody involved in the end. If you've chosen azurite, the message that's coming up for you is flower power. Spend time with the flowers and flower essences to increase your personal healing power. So part of what's coming up is the need to be working with flowers, herbs, essential oils. So part of that is dietary. It's also encouragement to make sure that you're getting outside, particularly if it's summer where you are, and really enjoying gardening and other things kind of along those lines. And as you do that, then your awareness and connection with spirit and source really starts to open up, because azurite is a crystal that's very much associated with the third eye and the crown chakra, and that's all about spiritual awareness and understanding and really clearly seeing things. So as you're doing that, then things really start to open up for you. The other message that's coming up here is that there is really a need to be connecting on a spiritual level around this situation, because again, it feels like there's information that's coming forward that you aren't necessarily seeing or being aware of, and that you're needing a bit of help with that. So things do feel like they're falling into place, but I really want to encourage you to stop and smell the roses. So take some time. Don't be pushing and forcing things right now. That's not the way to go about this situation. Just kind of relax and expect miraculous solutions to appear as well. Also, there's some dream time stuff that's coming up too. When you go to sleep at night, give over the situation to your angels and to your guides, and ask that they bring you messages during your dreams. And I wouldn't be surprised if you end up receiving a very clear and very strong message around the next step to take or not to take, and that there's a lot of clarity that you're going to be receiving around this situation in that way. All right, let's pull these crystals back. So if you have chosen lava, the message that's coming up for you is marriage. The fairies join you in celebrating wedded bliss. So the message that's coming up with this is that this situation isn't only involving you, and that it's really important that you are working with the other parties involved to come to a resolution, and that it's important that you're not doing it all on your own. Lava is really a crystal of transformation and things happening at a fairly fast pace and going from one to the other in a very quick time. So the more that you're able to communicate with any other parties who may be involved within the situation, the more you're able to collaborate, the more that there will be celebration. So that to me says that there's resolution around the situation that you're in and whatever it is that you're dealing with. It can also do that part of what you're experiencing right now is related to a romantic relationship, and that things are moving forward in a very quick way, and it feels like there is a lot to be celebrated. So either it's the beginning of a new relationship or a new situation, or things that are coming in, and it's coming in a very quick way, but it does feel like there's increasing commitment and connection that's coming about as a result of this new connection and communication that you have. If you have chosen rose quartz, the message that's coming up for you is walk away. Leave the unhealthy situation and enjoy the new doors that open as a result. And I'm really drawn to the crystal that's come up with this. Rose quartz is a crystal of emotional healing and transformation, and it's also unconditional love. It's very supportive, very gentle, and so this message is coming to you from a really loving place, but that there is no longer anything for you within this situation. It's no longer serving you or any of the other parties that may be be involved, and it's time to take a step back and say, you know, this situation isn't working for us anymore the way that we wanted it to or the way that it used to, and it's time to, with all of the love in the world, to go our separate ways. But it feels like what's coming up around this crystal and this stone is that it's time to let go and to move on and to move forward. So please don't try to push and force things to happen within this situation. It feels like anytime that you do that, you'll come up against roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And if that's part of what you've been experiencing, know that that is the message, that it's time to be looking for something new. And as you do let go of this situation, new opportunities do start to present themselves. So there's a lot of healing that's coming up around this card and around this situation for you as well. All right, if you've chosen citrine, the message that's coming up for you is practice, practice, practice. With daily practice, you can polish your skills and talents and increase your confidence. And it's really interesting because citrine is very much associated with the solar plexus chakra, which has to do with self-esteem, self-value, sense of self and who we are. And so the message that's coming up for you is that anything that's coming up around the situation for you, it's time to be putting time, energy, resources into this situation, and it feels like it's going to have a very positive impact on the way that you see yourself and the way that you experience your world as well. So there is a lot of positive that's within this situation. As I say that, they're showing me that boundaries are also really important too. So on the one hand, putting energy and effort into the situation is a really positive thing, but it's important to be aware of the boundaries that you have for yourself around this situation so that you aren't completely giving in, particularly if there's somebody else involved within the situation too. Make sure that you're both or all working to an equal level to resolve this situation or to move forward within the situation. But basically what this is calling for is for you to be putting energy into the situation. All right, let's bring the rest of the crystals in. So actually we'll just do like that. Perfect. So if you have chosen aquamarine, the message that's coming up for you is easy does it. Stop trying so hard to control everything and all the doors will open for you. And it's really beautiful to me. I love this rainbow that's within this card. It's a card where there's a lot of encouragement to make sure that you're taking your time, not trying to push and force things, that everything is falling into place, but you need to do it in a really gentle way. So if you're expecting really big miraculous shifts and changes, it doesn't feel like that's what's coming up within this situation. It's really important to be just kind of gentle and calm and allow things to fall into place as they need to. The aquamarine crystal that you've chosen, and again it matches, which is kind of cool. The aquamarine crystal that you've chosen is one that's very much associated with the throat chakra, so expression, and also a little bit with the third eye as well. So being in touch with that, with intuition as well. So it feels like it's going to be really important for you to follow your intuition within this situation, and again, not trying to push and force things because everything is falling into place. And so a lot of encouragement to just really go with the flow with this. All right, if you've chosen carnelian, the message that's coming up for you is to do some research. You need more information about the situation, look into it further before proceeding. And it's interesting because, again, I'm kind of going into this feeling like it almost feels like you've been working on this situation a bit, but there are kind of some little roadblocks that have been coming up that you haven't necessarily been paying attention to. It doesn't feel like these are big make or break roadblocks, but it's enough that it's kind of halting your progress within the situation, and it feels like there is something that you need to really be paying attention to before you kind of throw everything in and saying, this is exactly what I'm doing, this is the direction that I'm going in, and that's it, and that's final. There's also a need to make sure that you're doing what you're passionate about within this situation too. So making sure that you're able to adequately express yourself in a creative way. Creativity is very much coming forward for you too. So in the course of doing some research, just kind of put things on the back burner a little bit. So do continue to research and to be looking into the situation, but there's also a lot of energy coming up around making sure that you are exploring on a creative outlet as well, because the more that you kind of put that off to the side and start concentrating on this, the more that there's kind of a marriage that kind of comes back and forth, and it's growing and expanding and developing. So if you've chosen carnelian, make sure that you're also concentrating on the things that you're passionate about as well. And if you've chosen jet, the message that's coming up for you is autumn. So in the fall season, everything comes together and you reap wonderful harvests of abundance. So from a timing point of view, many of us are coming into autumn within the next couple of months. And so things are coming together, just perhaps not right away. So knowing that everything is starting to fall into place. And it's interesting that the word abundance has come up, because it feels like there's a lot of finances that are perhaps attached to this situation. So know that things really are falling into place on a financial level, but that it's probably not going to be happening for the next 6 weeks to 8 weeks, and so not to try to push and force. The other thing that's coming up with jet is that it feels like there's something that needs to be sucked out of this situation in order for that abundance to kind of fall into place as well. So if there's anything that's been happening on a negative level, or something that doesn't feel quite right in the situation, do some healing work around that, because it feels like it's really going to help move things along in a really positive way. And there's also encouragement here to be doing energy healing work on yourself. So taking sea salt bath is really great to be cleansing out your energy, your aura. If you have a piece of jet, then using that in the manifestation, any manifestation work that you might be doing around the situation. And coupling it with citrine is always really good, because it helps to balance out the energy, and anything negative that does come up that is absorbed by the situation or by the stone is then transmuted into something positive. So going back to the card, things are coming together within the situation, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So do what you need to do in order to keep yourself clear and balanced in the meantime. I'd like to thank you so much for joining me for this month's Choose Your Own Adventure Crystal reading. I'm Erin Lee, and you can find the rest of my readings on my website, VancouverIslandPsychic.com, and I'd like to wish you a fabulous month.